Hello all, come back with me, Agape Exalta. Just like in the previous video, I was a student at Atma Jaya Yogyakarta University who was in the process of fulfilling the final ESP exam scores. In making this video, I was assisted by my valuable friends, Andre and Marlon. They helped me in recording and editing this video, and yes, I admit that they are an expert. And of course, with the help of Super, this video masterpiece become more interesting because I use Adobe Premiere application. So guys, on this occasion, I will talk about the flower industry, especially and exporting the fresh flowers, or some people call it cut flowers. A topic you don't hear very often, right? So let's discuss in the next 15 minutes. Happy listening and watching, peeps! If you hear the word export, what is the most interesting in your mind? Of course, export is a trade activity where goods or services from within the country are sold abroad in order to gain profit, right? Export that we find in general are raw materials, spices, natural resources, and there are also transportation and so forth. But have you ever imagined that what is export is flowers? Not an artificial flowers, but yeah, the real one and still fresh. Of course, requires more special care than the other good service, right? Do you know that exporting cut flowers requires a complicated process? Preparing and packing fresh cut flowers for export is highly specialized, as flowers are perishable and fragile. The typical export path may take up to 7 days between flowers leaving the farm and reaching the end customer. The flowers must be kept as cool as possible throughout the trip to maintain the quality. That is between 34 to 37 degrees of Fahrenheit. If the temperature fluctuates 5 degrees plus or minus of 38 degrees Fahrenheit, it can destroy or shorten the life of flowers. And they must be provided preservative-treated water while in transit. Then, not all flowers are suitable for export. Some may not have a long enough past life or be too fragile to ship. Also, certain flowers are prohibited from entry into certain markets due to quarantine concerns. If the critical point of exporting goods is late arrival, the critical point of exporting fresh flowers are time and temperature. Meanwhile, the most important aspect of quality is freshness and fast life. And these aspects depend on optimum post-harvest handling. Talking about cut flowers export, of course many parties were involved and many processes needed to ensure the flowers will reach the market at the best of time into forms a supply chain. Let's see who they are and how the process. The first party I think is the supplier industry or the chemical industry, because they are providing the needs of the growers, such as flower seeds, fertilizers, or even some other special medicine that can be given to flowers. Have flowers to export, someone must plant them, right? Then there are growers who are responsible for planting, harvesting, grading, bundling, maintaining the quality of flowers while the flowers are still in position in the garden, and shipping it to importers. Also, the chemical solution. The various chemical solutions used after harvest to improve the quality of cut flowers usually have specific purpose. First, rehydration. Wild flowers placed in water to restore turgidity should be rehydrated with deionized water containing a germicide. This treatment must be carried out in a cooler. Second, pulsing. It means placing freshly harvested flowers for a relatively short time, a few seconds to several hours, in a solution specially formulated to extend their storage and fast life. Third, bud opening. Because of foliage of some flowers, especially roses, can be damaged if the sugar concentration is too high, then bud cut flowers must be opened in bud opening solution before they are sold to the consumer. These solutions contain a germicide and sugar. For some flower companies, they have employees in the packaging section too, so that the next stage can go directly to the importers. There are many shapes of packing containers for cut flowers, but most are long and flat and a full telescoping design. Top completely overlaps to the bottom. This design restricts the depth of the flowers in the box, which may in turn reduce physical damage of the flowers. In addition, flower heads can be placed at both ends of the container for better use of space. With this kind of flower placement, whole layers of newspaper have often been used to prevent the layers of flower from injuring each other. The use of small piece of newspaper to protect only the flower heads, however, is a better practice since it allows for more efficient cooling of flowers after packing. It is critically important that containers be packed in such a way that transport damage is minimized. There are two things that need to be considered in packaging. First, box design and construction. Much can be achieved in improving box design and construction. There are literally more than 1,000 box sizes used in the flower thread, and the quality of card used in the box is quite variable. The strength of cardboard falls rapidly at high humidities, and this is why box construct with poor quality card may collapse, particularly where there are major changes in temperature and resultant condensation in the post-harvest state. One other suggestion for strengthening the box would be to form an extra triangular stroke in the corners of the box bottom. Since there is an air gap between the flowers and the end of the box, the triangle would not reduce packing volume and would greatly increase corner strength. Second, packing systems. The costing of air transport has led to widespread use of packing systems that are detrimental to good quality in flowers. Because flower freight is typically based on volume rather than weight, producers commonly overpack their box. The result is a round box that doesn't stack well, while the product, not the box, carries the load, which cannot be pre-cooled effectively, and where the box can easily fall. Quality flowers result from package, where the box protects the flowers and overpacked box cannot do that. There are few official grade standards for cut flowers. Some marketing channels, for example the British mass market chains and the Dutch auctions, have internal quality control systems that provide a check on quality of flowers. The most important quality parameter is freshness or fast life. This parameter is difficult to assess visually, but because of its importance, producers and receivers should set up a quality control program that will involve evaluation of the fast life of representative flowers on a continuing basis. Such a program would answer questions such as: have these flowers been properly treated with STS or 1-NCP? Will these flowers have a reasonable fast life? Are credit claims justified? Does the post-spread treatment improve flower quality? After going through the stage of managing flowers in such a way as to be well maintained in the process of sending later, there is one party responsible for the process of taking care of the files so that the flowers are safe to import. That is, importers. This party make the deal and responsible with the government bodies, especially agriculture. Why? Because for all exported products, you need phytosanitary certification and inspection for specified markers from the Quarantine Inspection Service, plus customs clearance to guaranteeing the phytosanitary conditions of plants and plant products, and also that the shipment has been officially inspected, complies with statutory requirements for entry into the country, and is free of quarantine pests and other harmful pathogens. Still related to the government bodies, continue to the party that manage customs. Because there is import duties and tariffs and custom clearance and labeling in the country of destination. After being approved by the provisions of the sending country, cut flowers are ready to be sent to destinations, especially international domestic. And this is where the role of the distributors is needed. Because of the dramatic effects of transport temperatures on subsequent phase life and the propensity for overheating of packed flowers, they should be transported at close to the optimal temperature. Flowers should be properly cooled at the grower's operation and transported to the airport in refrigerated trucks. Perhaps the weakest link in the flower post-harvest chain is at the airport. Freight forwarders may be inundated with late arrivals just prior to aircraft leaving. Pallets are assembled hastily. There is no time for pre-cooling of warm flowers, and bulbs are handled thoroughly. The producing and transportation industries need to work together to set standards for temperature management, pallet construction, and temperature maintenance during loading. And yes, once the cut flowers have passed through the stages, the order is ready to be sent. Now, it's my turn to express my opinion about flowers. Check this out! I am myself a flower person. I like to buy flowers, and I love the various flowers that every flower has. For consumers, a person like me is usually so picky when it comes to buying or choosing flowers. If I am buying those flowers for other people, I had to make sure the flowers that I bought was beautiful enough to make them happy. For my opinion, pretty flowers are best on their colors, how they look, and how they last. I usually don't care about the price, because for me, if some flowers are worth to buy, then I'm gonna buy it. The points that I've mentioned before is the typical flowers that I like to buy. The first one is beautiful colors. It's not about how various their color is, but it's about when I see flowers, they have to look bright and attractive. I don't want them to look pale. Even if the flowers have bright colors such as red or blue, once they are pale, it can be covered. The second one is how the flower looks. It means that the flower has to stand straight and not wither. Sometimes when the flower is sitting too long on the shelf, they will go wither. And sometimes the seller are not paying enough attention on that. So we have to be careful with that. The third one is how they last. For this point, it only can be figured out when I bought the flowers. And I'll notice if the flowers will be strong enough to stand outside its plant or last long enough when if its roots only depends on water. In my experience, local flowers here in Indonesia last shorter than the import flowers because maybe import flowers had their specification and rules before they are exported to Indonesia. Import flowers are pricier than local flowers for sure, but to be honest, I love import flowers more than local flowers because they last long enough and they stand strong for a long period. So for me, it's really important to every flower seller to pay much attention to their product quality and quantity. Because for me, wants the best from them and I want to feel that it's worth buying their flowers. So quality control is on the top before the 3 points that I've mentioned before can be run. So, that is the parties who play a role in the process of exporting cut flowers and how the process is done, so that the flowers can arrive at consumers on time. For some situations, time is indeed unpredictable, for example, weather changes. But if the quality control party monitors it well, the flowers can be received by consumers without disappointment. And I want to thank to Andre because he providing his house also for my shooting nets. And also thank you for Andre, you has taken your time to discuss my ESP project. I'm nothing with you all. Don't forget to keep up the spirit, keep working, thank you and see ya guys.
Don't forget to like, comment, and share.